My name is Brandon and welcome to or welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you like what you see in here, you're more than welcome to hit the subscribe button so you stay notified every time I upload a new video. Okay, let's get straight on with today's video. Hey everyone and welcome back to Is That More Brandon. So in today's video I'm going to be doing a review for the 6th episode of The Apprentice. At this moment in time we only had 12 candidates left in the process and we found out that for their next task they were going to be going to Heathrow Airport Terminal number 3. And Victoria obviously was the one to deliver the news to everyone. Joe sort of was like, okay, well, do I go smart or do I go in kind of speedos and flip-flops? And Reese said that it seemed to be a hotter climate than Glasgow. And what they found out is that they were going to be sent to Dubai to try and sell a corporate away day to clients looking for a day out for their teams. So very simple task. Go over to Dubai, work out what you want to do for a day trip. So obviously on one team we had Mark, Sahil, Megan, Victoria, Marnie and Reese. And on the other team we had Rochelle, Danny, Joe, Simba, Bradley and Avi. So with the first team it was Victoria that obviously took the lead. She kind of said she's lived in Dubai for 6 years, she's been on a yacht with catering and she could probably just drive the boat herself. And I think in terms of some of their initial ideas, they wanted to have like a DJ masterclass, price to tickets for 1,200 dirhams, with Marnie and Sahil basically both saying that the price was a little bit too much, but I think Marnie kind of said that Victoria knows this market, so if people are going to spend that kind of money, then Dubai is obviously the place that they would do that. And then with the other team, it was Rochelle that took a lead. She said that she's not in the corporate field at all, but she kind of knows what would make a day out. Avi said that he knows what makes a corporate day corporate. And in the end, obviously, they chose Rochelle. She said that obviously they wanted to choose something like a desert, have a camel ride. Joe suggested maybe having drum dancing, but also saying that it was a little bit of a big expense. Avi said there was a bit more of a risk to choosing the drums, and both Bradley and Simba said that they would have chosen the drums. So I think in terms of the activity, basically deciding whether to do like tea or coffee making or the drums, and Rochelle decided to go against the drums just purely because it was just so expensive. Team Infinity, which is obviously Rochelle's team, they decided to go £600 per person or 600 dirhams per person. Bradley was in charge of the budget, and Rochelle also said that the food, they were only going to charge a maximum of 50 dirhams per head, so no more than 50, otherwise it starts getting a bit expensive. And then for Team Apex, Marnie and Sahil were on the corporate side. Team Apex, Marnie and Sahil were obviously on the corporate side. Victoria told the two of them to try and push for high numbers, with Megan saying that the price was very expensive. And again, Victoria said that people have money in Dubai. So again, she's kind of got the majority of her team not on her side. Again, she said that she knows the market, so they kind of all went with her. For Megan and Mark, they obviously wanted to go and get high-class food because obviously it was a high-class event. And for Team Infinity, it was Rochelle, Avi and Simba who obviously went to go and do the first activity agreement, that they had decided to do a traditional coffee and wine tasting. They said that the price would be 2,500 dirhams, and they managed to get the price, I guess, down but also back up to 2,100 dirhams. So I think they came down to like 1,900 or something. They're like, can we kind of agree at 2,100? So that was basically about £480 in English money. Again, back to Team Apex, it was Marnie, Victoria and Sahil that had their bonding experience. They obviously were talking to Huda Beauty, and they said initially they wanted 3,500 dirhams for 10,000 people, with the client actually saying that she could only afford 10,000 dirhams in total. So yeah, that kind of would have covered basically like 2.5 people, so that wasn't great. In the end, they were brought down to 1,600 dirhams, and Karen basically said that yeah, the fact that they sold the tickets for so low, literally for even less than half the price that they initially wanted, they've still got all the other costs that they have to worry about. And Victoria said that she felt like she got a good price. Bearing in mind they kept going up and down. I think that's the thing with selling and budgeting and negotiating. You're going to have someone pull you all the way down. You're going to have to put them back up a little bit, pull you down a little bit more. You go up a little bit more until you reach your profit margin. And Megan and Mark, they went for the classy option, which I think was about 340 dirhams. So for Joe, Bradley and Danny on Team Infinity, they were told that their lamb that they were looking for was a meal that couldn't be found anywhere else, and it was the highest price of item. Brad said that they were happy they didn't go for the choice of lamb, and Danny also said that they were going to have 2 waters and 1 orange juice per person. They obviously had to budget, but they obviously didn't want to make out that people were not allowed to have water, so it was kind of 2 glasses per person, and that was all. Victoria said she got a lower price for the tickets than she initially wanted, but they ended up going for high-end food, which kind of made up for it. And then obviously for Team Infinity, Joe asked if there was any dietary requirements, and obviously Rochelle kind of wasn't able to give an answer to that, so that was probably the most important thing that was missed out. Marnie, Victoria and Sahil were testing the different water jets, and for Team Infinity, Simba, Rochelle and Avi were doing some fact finding on the different camels in the desert, and Rochelle basically said that it felt like she was in the Prince of Arabia. With Bradley, Joe and Danny, they also said they didn't go for the drum situation, but they went for the tea making. They actually were offered whether they wanted to do bread making as well, and luckily Bradley managed to get some sort of deal out of that where they got both of the events and both of the activities for 4,000 dirhams rather than like 6,000 or 7,000 for the total. Megan and Mark, obviously they had spent 3,000 dirhams and their budget was 4,000, and that was on the DJ. So they actually paid the DJ for an entire 6 or 8 hours when he was literally only going to be there for like a few minutes. And they did try and get him down, but the DJ said that exposure doesn't pay the bills. So yeah, I think it was Mark that kind of was like, we can promote you and that sort of thing. And he said, yeah, but exposure doesn't really pay my bills. I need to be making money. And Karen, yeah, also she noted that she felt like they paid for the entire day and he's not literally not going to be there all day. With Marnie, so she said for the actual event, she wanted to have more of a quiz rather than just giving them a speech, so kind of coming up with different questions and things that would make it more interactive. And yeah, I think this is where Mark said that he'd spent just over £1,300 on the DJ, and Victoria said that she didn't need him for that long period of time, so they've basically just given him money to not work, if that makes sense. Bradley also then told his team that he got a combined total of 4,000 dirhams for the tea and bread making tasks, and with Rochelle saying that he also took a risk and they could have just gone with the drum option instead. They've spent just the same amount of money for 2 different activities that are maybe not as exciting as the big drums. And then obviously Megan and Mark in the kitchen, they were both discussing about how they were going to get all this food out. And I think she said that once they've got a system, you can smash stuff out. So I think it was good that they had good teamwork together. The boat was kind of shaking, so they were trying to make food in the boat. So yeah, that was obviously quite interesting to watch. Megan basically said that the serrated edge of a knife should be facing outwards. And I think Rochelle with her team just was like, can I get a dessert? So that's how she started her trip. Joe, Danny and Bradley, they were obviously trying to bulk the items that they were making because they had a very, very limited amount of ingredients. And again, like I said, Marnie did a quiz. They were shouting out the questions. The clients were shouting out the answers. I think Marnie kind of got the currency exchange question wrong. So she said that they answered it wrong. They actually answered it right. And one of the clients actually started shouting out, can we go back? I'm tired. So that wasn't great from the client's side. And then yeah, Avi said that there was 3 courses of food and dessert, making a little bit of a joke about it. And with Danny and Joe, she said to him that there was too much lettuce in the pot, because obviously when you add the other bits of food on top, it's gonna look messy, so have less lettuce and then actually fill it up with proper food. Yeah, Marnie obviously came into the kitchen with Megan and Mark asking if the food was ready to go, and you could see how stressed they were running around the kitchen. Like there was one microwave. I think this is where Megan started to get a little bit sick. So I don't think she managed to actually survive cooking that entire time. And then yeah, obviously for Team Rochelle, they were obviously only giving out 2 waters and 1 juice. Megan and Mark, yeah, like I said, they were being thrown around the boat. Joe basically said to Simba that they should tell the clients about the drinking options, but it was Simba that went over and said, you're only getting 2 glasses of water and an orange juice. I think it was kind of a mix of, it was Joe's suggestion, but it was Simba that actually did the action. So yeah, either way, they were both kind of in the wrong there, because you don't tell someone they're limited to water in the desert because you're going to need water, I think. But from what Danny understood, she just wanted to let them know, like she wanted to just let the customers know that they were obviously going to get drinks, but not to mention that they were limited. Just hope that they wouldn't ask, and if they did, she'd be like, yeah, absolutely, not a problem, then go and grab some more. And then obviously Rochelle, when she brought over the food, she said to the clients were they all okay, and she added that she didn't want them to get too full, with one of the clients actually saying that she's never heard that before, that you don't want someone to get too full. It's like, what are you waiting for? Like, you're gonna bring out 17 desserts? Yeah, it's a bit of a strange comment from her, but I think she was also a little bit under pressure as well. The fact that her team were all over the place, like some of the food wasn't cooked, the limits on drinks, and buying all the different bread making things and not going for drums. So there was a lot of different things that I'm guessing she was double thinking about. Obviously then Mark was running around the kitchen on his own. Victoria basically said there was no food and no vibe. Karen actually had to come down as well, and she basically said that the clients are starving and there's literally been no hot food. And this is where Simba mentioned about the glasses of water and juice, and Danny said that she didn't think to mention it. They would just hand the clients drinks when they needed it. And Joe said that it would have been a good opportunity to say that they'd listened to the client, if they wouldn't have mentioned it, because then they could have just gone out and got extra stuff. So I think at this point Joe realised he'd made a bit of a rookie error by saying, go and tell them there's limited drinks, but actually we can get more drinks if needed. Rochelle, obviously she was told that the vegetable skewers were undercooked. Avi wanted more water, and Joe managed to get an extra glass of water for everyone. Danny taught everyone some facts about Arabic coffee. She basically said that one of the interesting things is when you go into a home, you're given a small glass of water to enter, and obviously when you leave you're given a big glass, and that kind of is like a thank you, like goodbye and I'll see you soon. In the boardroom we found out that Reese wasn't feeling too well, so he had to leave the process, and that obviously left 11 people left. Rochelle and Team Infinity, obviously she wanted initially 2,500 dirhams for the tickets. They came down to 2,100, with Simba saying that the counter offer was accepted. Avi said he loved riding the camels and obviously had his legs up. Simba was disappointed with the food for the client, and Danny said that there was only 3 drinks for each meal, but she wasn't wanting it to be mentioned. It was just that if they were to ask, we could be like, yeah, absolutely, not a problem, we'll go get some more drinks for you. And then for Victoria and Team Apex, Sahel managed to get a price of 3,500, and then it went down to 3,100. Victoria was brought down to 1,800, and then they actually agreed at 1,600. So they kind of was going up and down. Megan and Mark obviously spent £1,000 equivalent on food, and they actually overpaid on the DJ. And obviously the clients were also disappointed in the slow service because there was no hot food. But again, Megan obviously wasn't feeling well, so she wasn't actually able to stay in that task. So I think there was a few people that were slacking on that task. Obviously Reese wasn't there. Mark was cooking on his own because obviously Megan was a bit ill, and it just seemed like it was a bit all over the joint. In the end, Team Apex spent 10,279 dirhams. They made a profit of just under 6,000. 20% of the clients wanted a refund, giving them an overall profit of 2,500. Team Infinity, they spent 6,370, made a profit, and obviously in terms of their refund, they got 60% clients that wanted the refund back, which is a massive amount. So they actually only made 2,030 dirhams, which is about 400 profit. So Team Apex won. They got £554 worth of profit. Team Infinity got 432. And we found out that Team Apex were going to be team bonding and climbing at the O2. Lord Sugar said he'd never heard of a 60% refund before. And Victoria said that she was surprised that they'd won, with Mark saying that Megan was great as a team leader, until obviously in the kitchen where she became like a little Napoleon Dynamite. Brad said that the issue was that they sold the opportunity as luxury. Rochelle didn't overpromise. Danny said that she was telling the people what the issue was, and it was Joe's idea to be transparent. And Simba said that the failure lied with Rochelle and Joe. They undelivered, and they obviously didn't like the food either. Rochelle said that she left the hospitality up to Joe, and Danny said that there were limited drinks, which she thought would have been enough. And Joe said, put his hands up and said, look, it was my idea to tell them, but it was Simba in the end that actually did mention it to them. Rochelle kept saying that she was obviously drilling to make profit and she wanted to go for the drums, and she obviously decided to bring back in Joe and Simba. So in the end, obviously Karen, Tim and Lord Sugar had a quick chat. Rochelle said that obviously Rochelle wanted high prices, and she obviously then had high expectations which she didn't fulfill. Joe was responsible for the food and obviously the food service, and also telling them about their limit of water, but it was Simba that told them that the drinks were rationed, obviously just because of Joe's orders. Joe said that he negotiated on both terms, with the tickets and also with the food. Simba asked Rochelle why he was in the boardroom, and Rochelle said that she had to fix a lot of issues that were going on throughout the task. In the end, it was Joe that was fired, poor Joe, and he said that he learned so much from the process and hopefully he'll make a success out of his own business. Rochelle basically said that Lord Sugar is watching, with Megan saying that there's literally just the 10 of them left. And in the next task, they were going to be designing a children's lunchbox. So a lot happened in that episode. Like I said, we lost Reese. We obviously lost Joe because he got fired. We did lose Megan temporarily in the challenge just because she obviously felt a little bit seasick. But they are the final 10 contestants left in the show. So I think as of now, so we've got Mark. I think he's quite strong. I think he's very determined. I think he's very forward with things and getting things done. And I think he is able to build a good rapport with people. Sahel, I think he's one of the quieter ones, so he did put himself forward for having his like belly button turned into like a weird sculpture, so he does throw himself into things, but he was also the guy on one of the tours that said, yeah, just read the sign. So he's got his two sides there. He's not stupid, I just think he's one of the quieter ones. Obviously with Megan, I said that I think she was good with negotiations, so I think she'll still be great. Marnie's one of the obviously good leaders as well. Again, she's very open, very honest. She talks a lot, which is sometimes a good thing in business. Rochelle, I think, again, I'm starting to like her a bit more. I think as a leader, as a project manager, she's not great, but again, she at least put herself out there 2 or 3 times now. Simba, again, not really good with negotiations, kind of doesn't want to do things unless it's his way, and also not taking the blame for things. So he literally, when Joe was saying that it was him that said things to the client, Simba kind of just sat back and let Joe like take one for him. Danny, I think, is one of the strongest ones. Like, she is incredible. She literally says things how they are. She gets things done. She puts all of her ideas into different projects, and even if it's something she's not interested in or has knowledge in, she'll still go forward for it. Bradley, I think, is okay. Again, he was PM a few times. Acting is obviously not for him, but he might be better in the business world. But he does come across a little bit shy, a little bit awkward. And then for Avi, obviously he's the youngest, so you would expect him to have a little bit less experience than everyone else, but he still comes across really confident. I just think he's a little bit weird in some of the speeches that he does and some of the pitches. And again, I think he's put himself forward for project manager about 3 or 4 times and has only got picked once. So let's see if he puts himself forward again this week or next week or whenever the next show comes out. But yeah, if you did enjoy my review, don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. And if you think you know who's probably gonna win or at least get through another week, let me know in the comments who are your favourites. Like I said, we have 10 people left now, 5 guys, 5 girls. So yeah, until next week, thank you for watching and goodbye.